All right, so we all know that prepping for technical interviews, I mean, it can feel like walking a tightrope, right? Like one wrong step and it's all over.
Oh, tell me about it. The pressure is real.
But what if I told you the secret weapon to acing these things, it's not just about, writing flawless code.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
And that's exactly what we're diving deep into today with this article, Why Clarifying Assumptions and Asking Questions is Key to Interview Success.
I like where this is going because so many candidates, they get so caught up in the technical stuff, right?
Totally.
But this article, it really gets at something that's so important. It's about how you think, how you communicate. That's what makes you stand out.
It's not enough to just be a coding machine.
Exactly. Think of it this way. You've got your technical skills. That's your ticket to the game. But once you're in that interview room, it's the soft skills that are your MVPs.
Interesting.
And this article, it really digs into how asking why can completely change the game for you.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So break it down for us. Why is asking why so powerful, especially in a technical interview?
It boils down to this. You're showing the interviewer that you're not just there to show off your coding skills. You actually want to understand the problem they're throwing at you.
Showing genuine interest. I like it.
Right. Anyone can jump into writing code. But if you take that moment to ask, why is this solution important? What's the bigger picture here? That shows you're thinking strategically, collaboratively. You're a team player.
You wouldn't build a house without a blueprint, right? You're basically saying that clarifying the problem, that's your blueprint for a successful interview.
100%. And just like with a blueprint, asking those why questions, it helps you avoid those costly mistakes down the line.
I see what you're saying. It's about being thorough from the get-go.
Exactly.
Which, leads me to something I think we all struggle with. And it's that fear of asking stupid questions.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. You think, I should know this already.
But here's the thing. The good interviewers, they actually want you to ask questions. It shows you're thorough, you're analytical.
So it's actually a good sign if you're asking those clarifying questions.
Absolutely. Think about it. Would you rather have someone on your team making assumptions and maybe wasting hours of work? Or would you prefer they just clear things up right away?
Okay, that's a really good point. It's about respecting everyone's time, and that benefits the entire team in the long run.
Exactly.
So it's not about avoiding questions. It's about making sure you're asking the right ones. And the article actually gives some really helpful examples of what those good clarifying questions might look like.
Oh, it does. It breaks them down into categories. Input format, what output should look like, those edge cases, performance requirements, all those little details that can really trip you up if you're just making assumptions.
So it's about being proactive, showing the interviewer that you're already thinking a few steps ahead.
Precisely.
But it's not about, grilling them with questions.
Yeah.
Right? It's more of a conversation, a back and forth.
You got it. And that's where the human element comes in. The article talks about framing your questions in a way that shows you're not just looking for clarification. You're actively thinking about different angles, potential challenges. You're not just an order taker. You're a problem solver.
And that actually ties into another point the article makes about summarizing the problem back to the interviewer in your own words.
So important. That right there shows that you were listening, you were trying to internalize the information.
It shows you're engaged.
Exactly. And it also gives the interviewer a chance to clear up anything you might have misunderstood. They might say, yep, you got it, or, well, actually, there's this one detail. Either way, you're both on the same page, which is so crucial.
So asking these clarifying questions, it's a win-win. It helps you understand the task at hand, but it also showcases your critical thinking, your communication skills.
Exactly. It paints this picture of you not just as a code writing machine, but as a thoughtful problem solver.
Yeah.
And those are the people you want on your team.
And this is where it gets really interesting because, your tech skills get you in the door, but it's those soft skills. Those are the things that really make you stand out.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, think about it. In the tech world, things are changing so fast, right?
Oh, absolutely. Constantly evolving.
Exactly. And with all this automation everyone's talking about, it's those human skills. The communication, the problem solving, those are becoming more and more valuable. Companies aren't just looking for somebody who can write code. They're looking for people who can collaborate, who can adapt to new challenges, who can communicate their ideas clearly.
And that's exactly what this whole clarification process shows, right? It's like this subtle way of showing off those in-demand soft skills without actually having to list them out on your resume.
Exactly. When you're asking those insightful why questions, when you're summarizing the problem in your own words, when you're going back and forth with the interviewer, You're showing them that you can think critically, you can communicate effectively, you can collaborate. These are the skills that set you apart, even if your code isn't like absolutely perfect.
You're not just there to take orders and write code. You're showing them you want to be a part of the solution.
100%.
But how do you actually get better at this? I mean, are there ways to practice this whole clarifying thing even when you're not in that interview hot seat?
Absolutely. Think of it like, training for a marathon. You wouldn't just show up on race day without putting in the work.
Oh, no way.
Exactly. So the article, it actually suggests treating this skill like any other skill you've got to practice. Do mock interviews with your friends, work through those coding challenges, but really think about the questions you would ask. You could even try explaining these problems to someone who isn't that technical. See if you can explain it clearly.
I love that. It's like building up that muscle memory. So when you are in that interview, asking those clarifying questions, engaging in that collaborative problem solving, it just feels natural.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to mess up along the way. That's how we all learn, right? The more you practice, the more confident you're going to feel.
So true. It's funny because this article, it's specifically about technical interviews, but this whole idea of clarifying, of asking why, I feel like that's relevant in so many areas of life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about how often we jump to conclusions in our everyday lives, right?
All the time.
Right. Whether it's at work, in our relationships, even just, scrolling through the news, taking that extra second to ask why, to clarify, to try and see things from different perspectives, that is such a valuable skill.
So true.
Yeah.
We get so caught up in trying to have the right answers, we forget to ask the right questions.
100%.
It's about being curious, approaching things with that. And I love that learn-it-all mindset instead of like a know-it-all attitude.
Love that. Learn it all. And, there's something else I wanted to touch on from the article. It's not just about asking questions, but it's also how you ask them.
Oh, interesting. So there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. Tell me more.
Well, you want to be respectful of the interviewer's time, right? So making sure your questions are clear, concise, and active listening, paying attention to their answers, because you never know, they might answer your next question before you even have to ask it.
It's like you're having a conversation, not an interrogation.
Exactly. And, it's okay to say, okay, I understand that now. You don't have to keep asking questions just for the sake of it. The article even mentions that, being aware of the time, especially in an interview setting, is important.
Right. Got to find that balance, right? Being thorough but efficient.
Exactly. And, here's something to think about as you're prepping for that interview. The article focuses on, those technical situations, but this whole idea of clarifying, it's valuable in any situation where communication, problem solving, those things matter, which is pretty much everywhere.
That's so true. It's like you're not just prepping for the interview, you're prepping for life in general.
100%. Honing these skills now, that's going to help you in all aspects of your life.
I love that. So to wrap things up for our listeners out there, getting ready for those coding interviews, those technical questions, remember, it's not just about writing perfect code, right?
Right.
It's about asking the right questions, being a part of that collaborative process.
Couldn't agree more. Don't be afraid to ask why. Clarify those assumptions. Have those conversations. Those are the things that are really going to make you stand out as a candidate, as a potential colleague.
And even if you don't, land every job, every interview, it's a learning experience.
Absolutely. So embrace the challenge, keep learning, keep honing those skills.
Awesome. Well, that is it for today's deep dive. Hopefully this got everyone thinking about the power of why. Until next time, keep asking those questions, and most importantly, keep diving deep.